For over a century, this was the most famously useless object in your body. A small finger-shaped pouch, about the size of your pinky, dangling off the side of your large intestine. Charles Darwin himself declared it a vestigial organ, a leftover, a shrunken remnant of a much larger structure your ancestors once used to digest leaves. The appendix was the poster child for bad design, the organ evolution forgot to delete. Then, in 2007, a paper was published that changed everything, and the appendix went from useless to underappreciated almost overnight. Here is the strange thing. When scientists actually bothered to look, they found that the appendix has evolved independently at least 30 times across completely different mammal lineages. It appears in rabbits and wombats and beavers and primates. It appears in species that last shared a common ancestor over 80 million years ago. If the appendix were truly useless, evolution would not keep reinventing it. 30 separate times, natural selection said, keep this thing. It matters. So what does it do? Your gut is home to trillions of bacteria. Roughly 1,000 different species live inside you, digesting food your body cannot break down alone, producing vitamins, training your immune system, and crowding out harmful invaders. This community, your gut microbiome, is one of the most complex ecosystems on the planet, and it is vulnerable. When you get a severe gut infection, cholera, dysentery, a bad case of food poisoning, your body's defense system does something brutal but effective. It flushes everything out. Violent diarrhea empties your intestines completely. This saves your life by expelling the pathogen, but it also expels your entire beneficial bacterial community. You survive the infection only to face a gut that is now a vacant lot, ready to be colonized by whatever microbes get there first. In environments dense with pathogens, which is to say most of human evolutionary history, this was catastrophic. This is where the appendix comes in. Tucked away in a narrow side chamber off the main highway of your gut, protected by a small opening that resists the flushing, the appendix maintains a reserve of your beneficial bacteria. It is a safe house, a backup drive. When the main system gets wiped, the appendix reseeds it with the microbes you need to recover. Take a moment to picture the anatomy. Your appendix hangs off the cecum, the first section of your large intestine, right where the small intestine empties its contents. It is typically 8 to 10 centimeters long and less than a centimeter wide. Its walls are thick with lymphoid follicles, dense clusters of immune cells that produce immunoglobulins, the antibodies that tag invaders for destruction. In fact, the appendix contains more lymphoid tissue relative to its size than almost any other structure in the gut. It is sometimes called the intestinal tonsil, and the comparison is not far off. During the first few years of life, the appendix helps train your immune system. It samples the contents of your gut, presents antigens to developing immune cells, and helps establish the delicate truce between your body and its microbial residents. As you age, this training function diminishes, but the reserve function remains. The safe house stays ready. The structure supports this function perfectly. The appendix is rich in immune tissue, packed with the cells that produce antibodies. Its narrow opening and thick mucosal lining create a protected niche where bacteria can form a stable biofilm, a carefully maintained community of microbes living in harmony with your immune system. It is not a random leftover, it is purpose-built. This idea, proposed by Dr. William Parker and his colleagues at Duke University, has gained substantial support over the past 2 decades. Comparative studies across mammals have shown a strong correlation between the presence of an appendix and higher concentrations of immune tissue in the gut. Species with an appendix tend to have more organized gut-associated lymphoid tissue, suggesting the appendix is part of a broader immune strategy. So why did scientists get it wrong for so long? Partly because they were asking the wrong question. They were comparing the human appendix to the large cecum of herbivores and seeing only what was lost. They were not asking what the appendix gained. Evolution does not just delete features. Sometimes it repurposes them. Your appendix is not a shrunken cecum that forgot how to digest cellulose. It is a cecum that was remodeled into a microbial sanctuary. Same real estate, entirely different function. This reframing matters because it changes how we think about the organ. An appendix is not a mistake you want removed. It is an asset you want to keep if you can. And for the vast majority of human history, you could not remove it. Before modern surgery, a burst appendix was a death sentence. The infection would spread through the abdominal cavity, causing peritonitis, and there was nothing anyone could do. The first successful appendectomy was not performed until 1735. For millions of years before that, if your appendix turned on you, you died. But here is the strange thing. Appendicitis, the inflammation that causes the appendix to swell and burst, is remarkably rare in traditional societies. In hunter-gatherer populations and rural communities with limited exposure to modern sanitation, appendicitis is almost unheard of. The rates began climbing in industrialized nations in the late 19th century and have continued to rise. Something about modern life triggers the appendix to malfunction. The leading theory is the hygiene hypothesis. In sanitized environments, your immune system does not get the early life training it evolved to expect. It becomes trigger-happy, overreacting to minor challenges. At the same time, your gut microbiome has become less diverse, shaped by antibiotics, processed food, and sterile living conditions. The appendix, which evolved to maintain a stable microbial community in a challenging environment, now finds itself in a gut that is too clean, too simple, and possibly too bored. Blockages form more easily. Inflammation follows, the safe house becomes a bomb. So what happens if you do not have an appendix? About 1 in 100,000 people are born without one. Millions more have had theirs removed. Are they worse off? The evidence says slightly. People without an appendix have a modestly higher risk of recurrent Clostridium difficile infections, a dangerous gut infection that tends to strike after antibiotic use, has wiped out the normal microbiome. Without the appendix to reseed the gut, recovery is harder. The effect is small in the modern world, where fecal transplants and probiotic therapies are available. But in the pre-modern world, that small effect could easily have been the difference between life and death. This is the new picture of the appendix. It is not a vestigial relic. It is not a mistake. It is a microbial lifeboat. An insurance policy your body keeps in a small secure vault, waiting for the day your gut gets flooded. And for most of human history, that day came regularly. Every cholera outbreak, every bout of dysentery, every bad meal. The appendix was there, quietly repopulating the gut while the immune system fought the infection. It still is. There is another fascinating dimension to this story. The appendix is not the same organ in every species that has one. In rabbits, it is large and actively digests plant fiber. In koalas, it is enormous, up to 2 meters long, helping them extract every possible calorie from eucalyptus leaves. In humans, it is small and immune-focused. The appendix is an evolutionary shapeshifter, an organ that different species have adapted to different purposes while keeping its core function. Maintaining a relationship with gut microbes. This kind of functional flexibility is rare. It suggests the appendix solves a problem so fundamental, so universal across mammals, that evolution kept solving it in different ways, in different bodies, across the entire mammalian family tree. The appendix teaches something deeper about how science works. For over 100 years, the vestigial organ story was taught as settled fact. Textbooks repeated it. Surgeons removed millions of them without a second thought, and then someone asked a better question. If this thing is useless, why does nature keep building it? The answer was hiding in plain sight, tucked away in a tiny pouch at the junction of your small and large intestine. The appendix was not useless. We just had not figured out what it was for. Your body is full of structures like this. Organs and features that were dismissed as leftovers, evolutionary baggage, mistakes that natural selection never got around to cleaning up. But biology rarely keeps things that serve no purpose. If a structure persists across tens of millions of years, across dozens of species, it is probably doing something. We just might not be smart enough yet to know what. The next time someone tells you the appendix is a useless organ, you can tell them the truth. It is a safe house, a backup drive, a microbial sanctuary that has been saving human lives for longer than humans have existed. And if yours is still inside you, it is quietly doing its job right now, waiting for the day you might need it. Appreciate your appendix. It has been appreciating you for millions of years.